Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is for the Elizabeth Craft Designs blog. I have created what I am calling a non-traditional Thanksgiving card using a spring floral set and some fall colors to create, something of a weird, non-traditional Thanksgiving card. All right, now to start off with, I have got my Distress Oxides. I use a foam makeup sponge with these a lot, or my little blending tool. And I am just blending this onto a piece of spring green soft finish cardstock. That's cut to about 5 inches by 4 inches. And so this was Lucky Clover, and now I'm adding carved pumpkin. And I do use a clean side of the makeup sponge every time I go to a new color. And you will see me go to my little blending tool at one point too. And then this is Candied Apple. And so you can see I've got kind of a fall palette of like oranges, reds, greens. And I'm smushing this just kind of randomly onto this piece of cardstock to basically kind of create the look of like color changing leaves. And then this is Wild Honey that I'm using my blending tool with. My thinking was I wanted to stamp some leaves on top of this, and so if I use the oxides first, and this turned out to be true, you have to use the oxides first because the oxides, if you color over a stamped image, they will greatly lighten up the color of the ink because they kind of gray out as they dry because of their oxidation feature, and so that will just gray out your stamped image. So it's important to stamp the images after you've colored the cardstock. So I've got 2 leaves from the Color My Flowers clear stamp set, and I'm stamping these into some areas of the cardstock that I thought would be cool behind the images of the leaves, to kind of make them look like they're changing colors for fall. And I'm using a stamp platform, I'm using the Misty for this because the soft finish cardstock has a really cool texture to it, which is part of why I love it, but it also makes stamping a clear image the first time pretty tough, so I always say use a stamp platform for that. And then I do die cut those out with the matching dies, as you saw there. And now I'm going to stamp 2 of the large flowers from the Color My Flowers stamp set, also in the Gina K Designs Black Amalgam ink onto 85-pound white soft finish cardstock. And this ink is waterproof, so it is going to work really well with my watercolor pencils that I'm using now. So these are my Tonic Nuvo Brilliantly Vibrant watercolor pencils. And so I'm going to use basically some fall colors. So I'm starting off with red, and I'm going every other outer leaf. And then I go to purple, and I'm adding the purple just in the center, kind of right where it meets that middle section of petals. And I'm blending it with the red to create some nice shading and a little bit of interesting like purple to red fall color. And so for the most part, I'm going to use sort of reds, purples, oranges, and yellows for this color palette. But I will have a little bit of turquoise as I'm adding in here to the center of this flower, for a little bit of surprise and a little bit of a non-traditional color palette. And then I'm adding orange to the center here. And it's very light initially, and then I always can add more by just adding more color and less water. And I would suggest that that's a good idea. Like start out lighter, you can always add more. It's a little bit tough to lift off the color. You can do it, but it's kind of tough. You can see I added yellow to that outer edge of petals, and I'm darkening up the orange a little bit, and that's the first flower done. And then the second flower I'm coloring in with the yellow, and I'm going to just go over that with the water, and you can see how it does kind of deepen the color once you add the water to it. And I often, as you see here and on the first flower, use the method of dipping my brush into some water and then going to the pencil tip, grabbing the color, and then painting on the paper with it. And so here's another bit of turquoise after that little bit of purple in the center of this flower. Then we add some more red, and then the very outer edge of these petals will go to the orange. So other than that turquoise, kind of a traditional fall palette, but that turquoise really kind of adds an interesting pop to the palette, which is kind of why I think it's somewhat non-traditional, especially since these flowers, you think of flowers more for spring, especially these kinds of flowers. And I wanted to see, could I make a fall card? And I think I did. Anyway, here's my A2 size top folding card base out of Gina K Coral Reef cardstock. Then this is some Rust soft finish cardstock that I die cut out using the second largest die in the dotted scallop rectangles die set. Then I used the Words 3 Happy Holidays die set for the Happy and the Thanksgiving that I will make dimensional here in a second. So I had 3 whites and 1 yellow of each color. Then I have 2 of the kind of leafy branch from the Trio of Leaves die set cut out of Kraft cardstock. There are my die cut leaves from the first step, my 2 die cut flowers, and then I stamped 2 of the small flowers onto Time for Teal soft finish cardstock and 1 onto the 85-pound white soft finish cardstock. Die cut those out. I've added Tonic Nuvo drops in ripened pumpkin to the teal flowers. I added dandelion yellow to the yellow flower, ruby slippers glitter drops to the white, and then aquatic mist glitter drops to the red flower. Now to create my little dimensional word, like you see with the Thanksgiving, as I mentioned, I die cut 3 of each word out of 85-pound white soft finish cardstock and then 1 each out of sunflower soft finish cardstock. And I'm using a liquid glue pen. This is a Zig 2A glue pen squeeze and roll fine ballpoint tip to add adhesive to the top of each word, and then I'm layering another word on top of it and lining them up as well as I can all together, and then the sunflower one goes on the very top level, so I've got 3 white underneath it to create kind of a dimensional embellishment. And the liquid glue is important for that, so you can kind of move those words around as you're lining them up. Now I've got 6mm clear double-sided adhesive tape on the back of the Rust panel. I'm going to adhere this into the center of the Coral Reef card base. Then I knew my words were going to go about like so, but they seemed kind of bland, so I grabbed my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle marker and I added some sparkle and shine to both of the words and then to all 3 of the Kraft colored leafy branches. And I will cut that second one apart as well. Now I've added 6mm clear double-sided adhesive tape to the centers only of the flowers and the bigger leaves. And if you've watched my videos in the past, I always mention this when I do floral arrangements. I only put adhesive in the centers when I'm doing arrangements like this because it allows the edges of the flowers and the leaves to sort of pull away from the background paper and create some subtle dimension. And especially if you're not using any foam tape, which I'm not on this one because the greetings are kind of the dimensional embellishment, it adds a nice subtle, I don't know, dimension. I keep saying dimension, but that's that's what it does. And as you can tell, it also allows me to add smaller elements behind the bigger elements after the bigger elements have been adhered down. So I can still layer behind them without having to worry about, gluing everything from the back forward, which I find frustrating sometimes. So 2 bonuses there for the adhesive only in the center of the flowers and leaves. And now liquid glue pen was used on the small leafy branches and then again on the Happy and the Thanksgiving. The words because they're kind of long and sort of somewhat delicate, they can get sort of bent into weird shapes. So I like the liquid adhesives. Allows you to adjust the arrangement a little bit before they are permanently adhered down. And then as a finishing touch, I added more Tonic Nuvo drops around the edges in the red, orange, and yellow colors to just finish it off and give it that last little touch. And that's the completed project. I thought it came out pretty cute. And so I hope I have inspired you to try using some stamp sets that you may not associate normally with a holiday like Thanksgiving, such as these spring flowers, but by using a fall color palette and maybe a little pop of non-traditional turquoise in there, you can come up with a pretty cool project and be able to use a stamp set that you might not normally think would work for such a card. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I love getting comments. Check out the Elizabeth Craft Designs blog today for a supply list, as well as the video description has supplies in it, as does my blog. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would really appreciate it if you would do that as well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.